there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video. Welcome to episode 61 of Ask Bossk's Bounty. You know the drill by now. This is the weekly series where you guys ask me questions and I do my very best to answer them. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, please leave it in the comment section below. And while you're at it, why not give the video a big thumbs up, as that really does help the video and the channel. And if you happen to want to give it a thumbs down like some people do, you can do that as well. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy new year. I hope you have a great 2021. Let's hope it's a little bit different to 2020. Probably goes down in history as the strangest year ever for me. I've got to say, with the events that have been happening on with the worldwide pandemic and all that jazz, it's been incredibly strange for everybody. But I've been still making lots of videos, still been collecting lots of Star Wars, and in that respect, it's been okay. We do have lots of questions again this week, so some of them are going to be quick fire answers to get through them all, so the video isn't too long. So let's get straight on to the first question. The Casey Cornell channel says, "Greetings boss, question for next week. If someone who has collected the 40th anniversary Black Series figures so far wanted to find and replace each figure with their modern vintage collection counterparts, is this possible or only for a select few?" It isn't possible, no. There are some ones that are missing, ones that stick out. For the Empire Strikes Back, for example, the AT-AT driver, we still need that on a vintage card. A lot of the first wave of the New Hope figures, those figures also only exist in the vintage original trilogy collection rather than the actual vintage collection. So they do exist on smaller card backs, 3.75. So you've got Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Princess Leia Organa. They're the four that really could do with an update and pulled into the vintage collection itself, but they do exist on the 3.75 inch cards. And then you've got a couple of others from the Empire Strikes Back waves, things like Luke Dagobah, the R2-D2 in Dagobah, and also the Snowspeeder Luke, which was a whole new figure and card back. Got that in the retro collection, but not the vintage collection. Jago Robin says, "Hi Bossk, I love your channel. I hope you had a great Christmas. Has there been a 3.75 inch Bo-Katan figure? If not, when do you think we will get one?" So as far as I know, there never has been, and the first figure of Bo-Katan that we're going to get is the 6-inch version. I really do hope and pray that it's on Hasbro's agenda to give us that figure in the vintage collection this year. Two questions here about Dark Troopers. Jason O'Toole says, "G'day Tim, hope you had a great Christmas, great channel and I always enjoy your videos." Thank you, Jason. "Do you think we'll get Dark Troopers figures in the vintage collection and the Black Series?" GeForce Racing 20 says, "Hey boss, great content as always. My most wanted vintage collection figure from Mando is definitely the Dark Trooper. Do you think we'll get them produced?" I have no doubt that Hasbro will give us Dark Troopers in both the Black Series and the vintage collection. No doubt the Black Series will probably get it first, but I think there's a lot of demand for that figure and it will be produced. Lincoln Vargas says, "Question for next week. You seem to be more of an inbox collector rather than someone who opens his figures. What made you go that way? I'm an open boxer myself, like to let the toys breathe." Well, I don't think I'm just a carded collector. If you check out my room tour video, I'll throw a link in the description below. If you check out that room tour video, you'll see that I've got, you know, a fair amount of loose figures, not as many as some, but I do tend to open every single vintage collection figure that comes out now and keep one carded. So I do one for the review and to keep loose, and one for my wall for carded. But if a figure's in another line, I don't really keep them carded. I just open them. So Legacy Collection figures, Power of the Force 2, Power of the Jedi, all that kind of stuff. I've always opened all of those and they're loose in my cabinets. Two questions about Emperor Palpatine. Silent Assassin says, "Hello Bossk Bounty, do you think we might ever get a re-release of Emperor Palpatine in the vintage collection line? Because I think he is worthy of a re-release, probably from the Return of the Jedi card back or the Rise of Skywalker card back." And Elvis Chang says, "Hi Bossk, I recently started to watch your videos. Great videos. Thank you very much, Elvis. Do you think we'll get Palpatine for a rumoured Return of the Jedi, or do you think we'll get Palpatine Rise of Skywalker soon?" Well, to be honest, I do really hope that we get the Return of the Jedi Emperor. That's the one that I really, really do want, and I think a lot of collectors want as well. Of course, it was one of the original 96 figures, so it'd fill that gap. And also, you know, we've got the Emperor's Royal Guard here. We've got a decent Vader. The Emperor is missing. We've got Luke Jedi from that scene as well. So the only person missing from that particular scene is the Emperor on that classic Emperor card back. Of course, look, we've already got Darth Sidious twice, Revenge of the Sith and the Phantom Menace. I love that card back, by the way, the Darth Sidious from the Phantom Menace. That's great. So yeah, I think we do need the Return of the Jedi one. In terms of the Rise of Skywalker, again, I do realise that there's a lot of people out there that would like that figure. He does look pretty cool in the film in his red and black outfit. But for me, it's got to be the Return of the Jedi one first. Axel Anderson says, great vid, thanks for answering my question. Do you plan on doing a top 10 vintage collection of 2020? I'd love to see your thoughts on the figures this year. I did that video just the other day. It's like a worst to first video of all of the single carded figures that came out in 2020. And I will leave a link to that video in the description below. Sitch Brit 72 says, hi Bossk, another great video as ever. Question for next week. Would you like to see Trapper Wolf figure from The Mandalorian? And if you could play a character in the show, apart from Bossk, who would you be? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, Sitch Brit 72. Would I like to see a Trapper Wolf figure? Most certainly. I think a lot of people would. And I think that would be a nice touch for Dave Filoni as well, for all the fantastic work that he's done with the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian. I think that'd be a nice touch for him to have a figure. Which character would I like to be? Something quite understated, something with a mask. So either an alien or a trooper or a Mandalorian. One of those. George B99 says, hey Bossk, love your channel. Hope you had a good Christmas. Thank you very much, George. My question is, what figure will be VC176, as Hasbro haven't said if either the Din Djarin or the Incinerator Trooper would be changed, as they're both designated as VC177. Now, from my understanding, VC177 isn't going to be changed. They are still going to be the Incinerator Trooper and Din Djarin, and it won't be changed, and a new figure will be allocated VC176 in the future. That's not me thinking that, that's Hasbro. And I will include just a little piece of footage now from a recent Q&A that Hasbro did, and this is from Jedi News. So jedinews.co.uk. I hope you don't mind me using this piece of video, but hopefully me giving you credit will be enough.
Okay. I mean, there seems to be ongoing small mistakes in the vintage collection, like the numbering of these two at the moment.
The Incinerator Trooper.
Yeah. You know, they're both numbered 177, and you did that, unfortunately, recently with 150 and 164.
How, that's a question.
Yeah. How can you stop these things? I mean, it's great for carded collectors because obviously they can get both versions, but, you know, it is a bit frustrating for people.
Yeah, so first of all, totally understand the frustration. It's not something we take lightly.
Yeah. And what are the correct numbers for those two figures? Can you just clarify that? Do you know?
The correct numbers for those two figures? 150 and 164, the two.
No. So 177. So yeah. The Incinerator Trooper and the Chardon.
Yep. So they both shipped at this point with 177, so they will both have 177. And that's something that, you know, is unfortunate, but I'm sure in 40 years we'll celebrate somehow because it'll become part of the line. But we are gonna make sure that we get that VC176 out there in the future, so there won't be a gap.
Okay, cool.
Salford Nurse says, hope you had a nice Christmas. Is there a character that would probably never be made into a figure, though never say never, that you'd like to see? For me, it would be 99 from the Clone Wars. I always answer this question that's the same answer. It's got to be the Tonica sisters for me from the Cantina. Will they ever get made? Who knows? It's been, you know, they've never been made, so we can only hope. Rich Cousin says, happy Christmas, Tim. Hope you and the family had a fantastic time. Thank you, Rich. I hope you had a great Christmas too. Question for next week. Have you got a spot picked out for the Razor Crest, and how will you display it? Landing gear or flight stand? Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a problem when it does arrive. I'm probably going to have to clear a little bit of a space on the end of my desk and have it there, which means it will be on the flight stand, I would imagine. But I can't really know until I get it in my hand to know which will be the best way of displaying it. The DS Studio says, hi Bossk, I love your videos, and I was wondering if you think Ezra from Rebels will be in the Ahsoka show, and if so, who do you think should play him? I think it's inevitable that he will be in the Ahsoka show, and to be honest, I wouldn't be able to guess who would play him. I'm not really up to speed on sort of actors in general, and I'd never be able to pick sort of an actor that looks a bit like Ezra, that right age range and things like that. But in terms of him being in the show, I think there's no doubt that he will be. The Hyperspace Vault. Happy New Year, Bossk and Little Bossk. Question for next week. A lot of people collect all kinds of Star Wars stuff for the nostalgia, including us. Do you collect any other Star Wars related items outside of the toys, i.e. comics, books, posters, artwork, movie soundtracks, or the movies themselves? I would probably say the only things that I really do collect are the comics, the John Tyler Christopher action figure variant comics, again because it mimics the vintage style cards that we have there. I also, I guess, collect the films whenever they seem to get released on VHS back in the day or Blu-ray, DVD. I always seem to pick them up each time. I must have spent a fortune on the movies themselves, but I have Disney Plus as well. But the one I haven't got is the new one, which includes The Rise of Skywalker. And in fact, The Rise of Skywalker is probably the first movie, Star Wars movie, that I haven't bought on disc. And that's purely because I got Disney Plus. Tyler Locke says, hey boss, question for next week. Do you think we'll ever get a vintage collection Max Rebo band? I really enjoyed the Kenner version and would love an updated one. I too would love to see the Max Rebo band in the vintage collection. I think I've talked about it before on these Q&A videos. This one here is the Power of the Force one. And this is, for me, the stumbling block of why we probably won't get it in the vintage collection. And I think it's because it's a very good figure. It doesn't really need changing too much. It looks exactly like it should. And in actual fact, it's almost identical to the original Max Rebo. See, this is the vintage one from my Max Rebo band. And the only difference really is he's got a little belt buckle on there. Apart from that, on his hand's different, that arm's different. But, you know, if you actually look at the sculpt of the figure, very, very similar indeed. A few differences. He's got that sort of ribbed effect on his belt. That one hasn't. It looks like he's just got a nappy on, doesn't he? It's quite funny, really. But yeah, I would love the Max Rebo band. And I think it's one of those things that, you know, Hasbro would probably be paranoid about just repacking something that's so old in terms of the Power of the Force 2 Max Rebo into the vintage collection. Whereas at the same time, does he really need updating, you know? I think some people would probably say yes and others no, and that's maybe the problem. But I would love him in the vintage collection. Sean Galvin says, as a kid, have you ever made alterations to your figures? I made my 77 Luke a replacement lightsaber from a garbage bag zip tie. I can't say I ever did that kind of thing. I've said this before. I'm not really that arty and crafty. I can't really, it's just not my thing. I know what I did used to do with some of my figures, and I used to make parachutes for them. And I used to just throw them out the window to see if they'd float. That's probably the limit of my sort of customizations. Joe Christopher says, question for next week. I know it's not a popular scene amongst the old school fans, but I'd personally really like a Boba Fett on a New Hope Star Wars card with a photo of him from Under the Falcon with Jabba in that scene that was recreated in the special editions. It would round off the trilogy collections with a Boba on every line. And now that he's back, do you think we'll get it? Do I think we'll get it? Probably not, purely just because they've got so many Boba Fetts to give us, haven't they? We've got the one that will be for the Book of Boba Fett in all his new coloured, fancy painted armour. We've got one that we need from the Mandalorian in his busted old armour, and then we need one also in his sort of like nomad black cloak outfit. I can see what you're saying about the Boba Fett from the special editions. One thing that I always found a little bit weird about that though is that he's in his Return of the Jedi armour in a scene that's set before Empire Strikes Back, and then in the Empire Strikes Back he's in his Empire Strikes Back armour. So in the one in Star Wars, he's in the special edition, he's got all his like red gauntlets and stuff, which is what he looked like in Return of the Jedi. Just a minor gripe, but I always found that a bit weird. Commander Doom says, hey boss, question for next week. Do you think we'll get a Shore Trooper captain in the vintage collection or the Black Series? Was there a couple already brought out in the Black Series, or was it just the one, that exclusive one, wasn't it? Vintage collection, we've only got the one. I think he's just the grunt, isn't he? The normal standard trooper. I think if anything's possible now that they've been in The Mandalorian, anything's possible, and it'd be an easy repaint. So judging on that, I'd probably say yes. Alright then guys, thank you very much for watching. That's it for this week. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section below, and we shall see you on the next one.